Welcome everyone on this Saturday morning, day before Valentine's Day. I wonder if that means anything to other people, but yes. Other than that, it's a great Saturday, our first parent group session in a while. It's always fun to have these mornings with you. And today we're starting off on an important topic with the idea of saying, how do we support learning in this new normal? So what is on our agenda? It looks long, but a lot of this will just be flowing conversation between myself and you. What I want us to start off on is just reflecting on last year, specifically how we are doing, how our families did, how our children are, and definitely then how we think learning worked last year. It was the first time that we had to become co-parents and co-teachers at the same time and technology experts at home. So it was a lot. So we will spend a little bit of time on that. Then I will introduce this idea of what are the laws of learning? What are the things that actually research has shown us are important for learning to happen in a child's life and actually even in us as adults? And then why the things that were forced to change last year were actually good, and how we then can put into place some of the lessons we learned last year. And then at the end, I will explain the exciting way that I think we're going to move forward with how we do these group sessions. So it looks long, but I think it will flow well. And as part of my welcome, I just want to say that I'm very grateful that everyone still makes time for our mornings together. They are obviously better when we're at school because we get to see each other face to face and not go through these technological things. But it's awesome to see everyone. And how this will work is when we get to the discussion part, you can either leave a question or a comment in the chat, or you can just raise your hands and then I will unmute you and give you a chance to talk. I really hope we can be quite interactive so that it doesn't feel more like a speech you are attending from me, but actually just everyone sharing their ideas and their experiences going forward. So I'm going to share from my side how I felt 2020 was. So last year, as you know, we started the year with a new principal, a new deputy, and I started the year optimistic. You know, I had seen them in meetings, and I was like, okay, it looks like we're going to have an interesting and different year for us here at SSB. And then we had a good first term. I think their ideas were coming to fruition. The staff were optimistic also about the possibilities of a good year. And I even remember quite early on, one of our matrics was saying that shouldn't we be wearing masks? So that's when like COVID really hadn't come to our country, but they were like saying, hey, they're so scared. And I recall us just basically telling this learner, hey, relax and down, like until it's time, it will be time. And then the president spoke, and then our whole world turned upside down. So many great ideas, so many plans were completely out of the window. And it started to feel like this year will be a year to forget. But I think in the end, we made good work of it. But this is how I remember 2020 within the school, that we were excited, and then our whole world turned upside down. So I'm curious about, for you, how did you find 2020 on your family? So if you're willing to share or write in the chats, that's okay. Yes, how do you feel it impacted your family? I'll share about my family. Quite early on in lockdown, we had realized that not only am I going to be working from home, but also my wife was pregnant. So I was like, yo, okay, what a interesting year to choose to be pregnant when there's COVID. And we were quite nervous because she's obviously, she has a comorbidity because of her pregnancy. And we were quite nervous, like what happens if I bring it home, or she brings it home, or the person who helps us at home brings it home, and then we are stuck with problems. So we were quite nervous on our family, but I think all went well. Healthy birth. We didn't get COVID, and it was great to then have been home for so long, to be able to spend some time with the newborn, but also spend time with the firstborn just before our son was born. So that's how we found 2020, that it gave us a bit more blessings to be home in my immediate family, but in the extended family, we did lose some family members, we did lose some family friends, people from my childhood where, yeah, it hit home that they're the same age as my parents and they got COVID and things went badly. So that's how my 2020 was. But how was it for you on your family? Please raise your hand if you'd like to share, or write it in the comments and then I'll read it out in my best reading voice. So I'll give everyone a bit of a moment if you'd like to share. How did you find 2020 on your family? Today, I see Marcia has said that the year touched us all to the core. I fully understand that. I'm going to unmute Golan and Sbongile. There you are, you may speak.
Thank you, Sihle.
Morning, ma.
Morning, thank you for the meeting as well. Well, I found 2020, there was a lot of bonding session in the family. It was very funny because I'm used to be at home all alone with the dog most of the day. Now there were 5 people in the house every day. So that was quite interesting. I think the couple of months it was fun. You know, we had Easter, it was great. How now it's June, how September, everyone is home. You know, 3 meals a day, full time. So yeah, it was a different thing, but I think I had time with the kids. We all had time as a family. And yes, we bonded. So yeah, it was great.
No, that's awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear. Marcia, I'm gonna ask you to unmute. You may speak.
Thank you, Mr. Maseko. So what I got out of 2020 is I had to face myself. And it wasn't easy. It was like the most difficult thing I've ever done. I thought the stuff that I had overcome previously was difficult, but no. And I found myself by the end of the year, I was asking my children, I would look into their eyes and I would say, who are you? They haven't quite gotten it yet, but we are on that road. And for that, I'm grateful.
No, that's great. That's great. Thank you for sharing. The Max will ask you to unmute.
Hi, good afternoon. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
All right. I just want to share my experiences for 2020. It was a year that nobody expected, because it was the dubbed 2020. So there's so much we were looking forward to, and we thought 2019 was not a good year, so 2020 was going to be a good year. And all of a sudden, there was this virus, and we had to stay at home. Yeah, but because I'm in the media industry, we couldn't stay at home. And I remember going to work during those days. It was a very weird, everything was weird. Traveling through the road, driving there, it was weird. It was like on a Christmas day in the morning. Yeah,
because it was so empty.
It was empty. There was no one. Yeah, I would drive the distance that I would travel for an hour, I used to do it in about 25 minutes. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. But it was it was a good thing that well, some of my family stayed at home, and they were well protected at home, and they were scared for me going to work, and they thought that I might catch the virus and bring it home. Yeah, but we had to do all the we had to be careful that when I come back home, I do all the necessary things just to protect them. But yeah, it was quite a weird year, and I'm just still worried because it seems that it's getting worse and worse.
Sure,
but I'm
sure.
hoping that very soon things will get back to normal, and we'll resume with our life. We'll go back to normal. So, but yeah, but it was a weird year.
Definitely.
No, thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to read Patience Basiano's comment, and then I'll give Figile a chance, then she'll be the last one, and then we'll move on to the next question. So Patience has said in the chats, my 2020 was not easy, but I give thanks to Almighty for his protection and love upon my family, both immediate and extended, we're all healthy and safe. That's great. And then Angelina Nyoni says, 2020 was a year of new experiences, some scary, some educative, and but mostly challenging. And then Ar Musala, hi, Mr. Masegan Vulega parents. 2020 was a year that every human being created in God's image realized how great is our God. I thank God for my family was not infected by coronavirus. It was a year where everyone had to seek God's face and presence and protection. I agree. So Figile, you can speak.
Good morning, Mr. Maseko and all the parents. 2020 was quite a year, a very difficult year for all of us, in fact, for the world as such. But in terms of the school, we are grateful that we pulled through the whole year. And I know there were sad moments of deaths in families, like there were in my family and many other families. But God being God and God being a good God, we still can meet over the technology and talk about the education of our children. We thank God that we didn't lose our teachers. We thank God that the school did everything to keep the children in class, outside class, at home, but they managed. And all went well. I would say all went well, depending on how the school sees it. But it was a difficult year, very, very difficult year, especially for us Gogos. It was just one of those years. But we wish our matrix luck and hope they will come out with it from the hard work the teachers did. And we hope this 2021, we are now used to the systems of COVID, and we would pull through because it seems the thing is with us for a long time. Wishing you all as parents and the school and the children good luck in this year.
Thank you for that. I'm going to read the comment from Abraham Madonsela. When everything got cancelled, work, school, sports, bookings, it was unbelievable. Collecting kids for the big lockdown. As weeks passed, the stress started to kick in. We all escaped into reading, movies, etc. But we lost the sense of time in that. Some were up all night and slept through the day. I am glad that our leaders took the actions that they did. The schools did a great job opening smartly. Thank you for that. Yes, Mersha is also saying thank you to the school for effectively keeping everyone together. Thanks for that. So now the next question is, how well did you manage with online learning? So you at the parent level, like when it was clear that we're going to do online learning, and I know even as a school, we were doing trial and error to try find the most optimum way of figuring this out. So while you are gathering what were your experiences, I will share from my side. I remember I started the year with you as parents, where we had that very optimistic session where I introduced you to Edmodo, and I was like, yeah, with the matric class, we'll do this. Unbeknownst to me that we were busy planning how we would do online learning. You know, at that time, it was a skill we're trying to work on. And then weeks later, I had to invite some of the teachers into my house so that I could teach them like very quickly how to use that so that we could support our matrics. And then, you know, after that, we obviously realized people are struggling with devices. So we tried the WhatsApp route, and then we realized the WhatsApp route is just overwhelming for kids. Then we're trying different timetables. And then the timetables were feeling like they're still overwhelming children. And then, you know, we got into Teams, we got into the data, but definitely online learning last year was a complete trial and error all the way forward. But how well do you feel you manage with online learning in your household as a parent? I'm quite curious about that. So I'll read some of the comments while I wait if one or two of you would like to share how it felt for you. So Josie says, it was a very tough year indeed, but we thank God, and probably this year it will be better for our family and schooling as well. Judy said, as bad as it was, it brought our family together, learned a lot about them, and the love we shared grew stronger. The time we lost while going to early learning centers was covered, and learned the difficulties they were having. True. Yeah, so how well did you manage with online learning? I'm quite curious about your experiences in the household. I know some of you had matrics in your house, some of you had grade 8 who just started, and some of you had, you know, grade 10s and 11s where their experiences are also quite different. Right, we'll start with Mercia. You can speak.
Thank you. So it was very, very difficult to adjust to this new way of living. I was working from home and I was focusing on getting myself organized. And I had to leave my grade 9 son. I just gave him basic instructions and thought, well, you know, you join the group, the teacher will tell you what to do. Unbeknownst to me, this child was not joining groups. Heaven knows what he was doing in that time. And we only found out later that his attendance wasn't up to scratch. But what also happened with this young man is he was so unfocused. He would, the place he visited the most was the fridge. Oh my word, my child picked up so much weight. By the end of the year, he was twice the man that he used to be. So, well, fortunately, we're adjusting now, but that was the biggest, the most obvious physical change that we could see.
No, I can comment that yes, I was shocked when I saw him at the beginning of the year, and I was like, oh, sure, oh, young man, I don't remember this from last year.
But he's working on a plan, so I'm encouraging him.
Thank you. That's a good plan. Good. While everyone is thinking, the next couple of questions are quite similar. So maybe there'll be one that touches the spot. So not only were you experiencing online learning, you actually got to finally see your child as a learner, because obviously sometimes it feels as if when teachers give you feedback about how your child is in class, it sounds very unbelievable, because maybe in primary your child was a passionate learner, even at home, dedicated, and then the teacher says otherwise. So now you got to see your child as a student in your house school of online learning. And what did you learn about your child as a learner? So as I wait, I'm going to read some of the comments again. From Disemela Morolong, she says, good morning, everyone. 2020 for my family was one long experience, from being in lockdown in a foreign country and having to be repatriated 2 months later. Loss of close friends, trying to both work and school from home was a huge adjustment. as well. But for better days, we pray. Yes, I remember the beginning of the year. That was, yeah, no, we prayed for that. That was a bit scary even for us as the school. Horatio Forbes says it has truly been a difficult year, loss of income, loss of lives, but we thank God that we are alive and well. We thank you, the school, for doing everything you can. And then Mutudi says, I am old school, but thanks to COVID, I have learned so much from the online teaching. They also taught me so much, even if sometimes I had to wake them up to be on their Zoom. Yes, initially it was hectic, but at the end, it benefited me more. Thank you for that. So let's hear what kind of Elena did you realize you've been raising all along? How did it feel as you were observing your child being Elena? I see a comment from Dimax. What I remember about the online learning is how expensive it was. We were spending a lot on data. The problem was that with all the money spent, still the connection was not that good. Yeah, I can attest to that. I think we all also discovered that our cell phone providers were not managing. They too have not really created networks that can handle all of us. I don't know if Mersha, your hand is still up from the last time or you wanted to answer now. But yeah, I think for me, it was also an opportunity for us as a school to see if kids who've been in our school, so let's say exclude grade 8, but in general, everyone who's been in the culture of SSB, what is their actual love of learning? What is their connection to learning? Can they learn unprovoked? Can they learn through difficulty? Do they desire to learn? And I think at times some children were able to rise up to the occasion, and I think others showed us also as a school community that yeah, we need to also continuously think, how do we make our children love the idea of learning? Because there was a chance for them to be home and not learn, and some took it up. So Abraham Matonsela also says that my daughter was in grade 11, always trying to catch up with the workload. I was wishing she would try to keep up with the pace. Yes, I can agree with that. We've had some conversations since, so I can agree with that. Sebenzile, you may speak.
Sorry, I had to admit. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Learning about my child being a learner. My child was grade 8 in 2020. So I had a problem, like not a problem. I was worrying that she's from primary. Then they were in high school for 3 months. Then there was lockdown. I was worried if she's going to catch up. This is a new thing. It's high school. Is she going to cope? Then when she was busy studying online and at home, I decided maybe there was a struggle even in waking up. I had to go and check, are you awake? Maybe you should wear uniform to take this serious. Wear your uniform. I will just force her to wear her uniform. Maybe when she wears a uniform, she will take this seriously. Then I saw that she didn't struggle that much. I was even worried when they had to write their online exams. But I think she pulled through. She managed through the year. Then the result came out positive, like at the end of the year. I just thank VSSB that you took care of our kids, and they are now independent. They can study on their own. They won't struggle that much, even if it comes to a push that there's a strong lockdown again. But they will be able to do it. Thanks to VSSB. Thank you so much for the team.
No, thanks a lot for that. I will tell the team of all the gratitude everyone is sharing. They say my children love their phones until they had to use them for classes. Oh, I have stories there. It's true. It's a very clear assessment and an honest one. En Lenong says online learning was a bit challenging at first. I remember it was sad for my kids. always complaining since they never got to have face-to-face interactions with their classmates and teacher. But they adjusted eventually, and it also sharpened my technological skills as well. That's great to hear. Isamela Morolong, what I learned about my child as a learner is that even in difficult situations, they still do their best to prosper. Great. Mutudi said, I have got 2 in the house. The grade 9 was all over the place. He trusted the teacher more than me. I understood because I'm not being a teacher. I did my best, and fortunately, the results came positive. The grade 8 was so far ahead that I even doubted myself whether to stop assisting or not. The arguments show maturity from both. Ke Malachi Molawa, my daughter was in boarding school. It was very, very difficult. No, thanks for everyone sharing about your experiences. And then I think the last one, in us just wrapping up our reflections of last year, it goes back to how are you feeling currently? So how do you feel you were able to support your child's learning in 2020? Because I think also the pace at which things changed and the need to continue learning could obviously have found many of us wanting, but gradually we were getting opportunities to try and improve our support for our children. But I'm curious to hear if you feel that you were able to support your child's learning in 2020. And while I wait, I will read again some of the comments. So Hotatia Forbes says online learning was a bit difficult at first, but they managed. Yes, the Forbes kids are heroes, those ones, hard workers. So I'm glad they stepped up. Yeah, so how do you feel you were able to support your child? Are there regrets? Are there moments where you feel you could have done better? I'm curious to hear. Okay, Tebogo Mbonane, you may speak.
Hi, Citland parents.
Hi.
Look, we were forced. We couldn't do otherwise. We were forced to get involved, which is something that we should have been doing in the first place. So despite all the challenges, the losses that we've had, the connection and all the data that is expensive, this is something that we should have been doing as parents to be involved in our kids' education. So it took this pandemic for us to get back to something that we should have been doing. And I think as one parent said that at the end of the day, it worked out very well for our kids because they started owning their education and taking responsibility as well. Because of late, I would find that they are the ones that are taking the lead than we forcing them. And this is something that will prepare them for the future. And you know that gap between the high school and tertiary, where you have to take responsibility for whatever work that you are given. So I think it's a very, very good preparation, and we shouldn't stop. We should continue with it, even when circumstances have changed. And lastly, the whole experience made me realize how much I didn't know. Thanks.
Thank you. And just touching a little bit on what Toboko said, what I will speak about a little bit later is this idea of how we've been looking at learning all along, and how possibly last year was a gift in us taking back ownership of learning of our children, which I quite appreciate. So Mersha says your infrastructure gave us confidence and helped us enormously. Oh yes, we made many mistakes and were so relieved to see positive results at year's end. And Marilyn Mtembu says, I'm doing distance learning and I communicate with my lecturers online. So I got to a study partner, so we studied together. Then Mutudi said, for me, I said earlier, it was easy for them to ask me anything, academic and personal. than before the COVID. We were more open to talk about whatever issues they want clarity with. And then Tandi Sabela says, obviously COVID-19 has completely brought a new norm to the rest of the world. Almost everyone, one way or another, is compelled to budget for the cost of that. Thank you. Thank you. I love the compelled emphasis because it is very, very true. So I'm now going to share a couple of slides on, what are the laws of learning? So this is a research that was done in around 2007. And they were trying to look at, what are the things that a teacher, a parent, and even a child needs to keep in the back of their minds when they're saying that they want to create a space of learning and give everyone an equal opportunity to learn and be at their best. So the first law is the law of readiness. Students are able to learn easily when they have a desire to learn. So think about that. Or even in the opposite, I wrote there that, students struggle to learn if they're not interested in a topic. So already the teacher has this big task to make whatever they are teaching desirable to the child. And we obviously know that not everything will be desirable depending on your personality, but it's still, there's a task and there's an idea that we need to understand that if a child is not interested, they will struggle to learn. Then let's see who needs to be muted quickly. All right. Then there's the law of effect. So learning is so much easier if you feel that you'll be satisfied, it is pleasant, there is a reward in the learning. Because again, if we can't feel that I'm going to benefit from this, there's going to be a satisfaction that's linked to whatever it is I'm learning, I'm not going to do it. Even with today, us deciding what is the topic, you are attracted to the possibility of what this topic could benefit my life, and that's why I'm going to be there. So it's also the same for children. Then the law of relaxation. So I've always found it weird that we have not pushed the government to put social workers in every school, private and public. Currently, social workers are more prevalent in special needs schools because I guess as human beings, we think that physical disability or mental retardation is where social workers belong because, yeah, those children probably need someone. But the truth is, they can never be learning if a child comes to school in distress, comes to school in panic, comes to school unwell, comes to school having experienced some form of trauma at home. So you can't learn. In fact, I've often even told people that there's no way a child can do anything mathematical if they are distracted by stress, by thinking about home, by reliving a trauma in their mind. So the law of relaxation is so true and so underplayed in our lives that you cannot learn if you are not relaxed, if you're not mentally okay. And part of what I think makes this law so easy in South African context for us to put it down is that so many of you as parents went through a lot when you were learning and you were younger. So sometimes there's that feeling of, well, I kind of made it and hey, man, I went through a lot. So my child must be just wrong. And the truth is, we shouldn't play down the fact that you were resilient, but a child does not need to be resilient. There's enough drama in life. We should do our best to not put them in spaces that increase stress or add on to the stress of just living. 2020 showed us that naturally life will stress us. But if we can assist learners to not have to deal with extra stress that we are putting on them as the adults in their lives, we will do good for them. So that's that. Then there's a law of association. So basically a child and all of us, we learn easily if we're adding a new idea to a previous idea. So if we can link stuff, we learn better. So that's the law of association. Then the law of involvement, the opportunity to participate in your learning makes it easy for you to learn. And with online learning last year, one of the reflections of going the easy route of saying, let's just use WhatsApp, is that a child cannot participate in that space. And then they struggle to learn. So it was about how do we get closer to mimicking what happens in the classroom? Because the law of involvement is so important. If I don't participate in my learning, if I don't have a fair opportunity to answer a question, to ask a question, to brainstorm with people, I may not be able to learn in an optimum way. Then the law of exercise. So the more often you repeat something, the more often you practice something, the more likely it will stay in your mind permanently. So the whole idea of practice makes perfect is part of the law of exercise. If a child does not get to practice something, they will forget it. That's why, you know, long lockdowns where we would be on holiday for 2-3 months is never healthy, because it robs children of the opportunity to practice the things they've been learning and to practice them repeatedly, so that they are more likely to remember it. Then law of relevance. So how close is what I'm learning relevant to my current life? And that is a task a lot of teachers sometimes maybe downplay, because content is content. But the truth is, if a child can be able to link what's happening in the classroom to what's happening in my life, what's happening in my environment, they are actually able to learn it correctly. Then law of intensity. We all remember this when we were taught by incredibly boring teachers, how that class was just not good. And we need to realize that with everything in our life, if learning is not exciting, so even words like vivid, so if when I look at it, it doesn't feel real and intense, I will struggle to learn. You know, I will learn because I must pass, but I won't learn for this to become part of me. And we want children who make learning a part of them, that the knowledge that they're gaining is not just so that they pass the test, but that it has a real and meaningful effect on their lives. Then the law of challenge. We learn best if something feels different, feels new, feels challenging, feels different. While a different way, it's like I learn in one subject, I learn this way, in this subject, I learn in another way. So that it's not that just a uniform way where I'm expected to learn. And again, we put a lot of this pressure on the teacher that please use different things to try and excite our children, but also learning when it happens outside the classroom, the same rules apply. You know, is there a challenge to this? Is there something I have to overcome? Because then if I have to overcome it, I'm probably more likely to want to learn it, because I feel like I'm going to achieve double reward. Not only am I learning a new thing, but I'm learning that I can overcome something because it was a challenge. Then the law of feedback. Immediate feedback, clear feedback, specific feedback, detailed feedback. Whew, that is so important for anyone's learning. And with online learning, that was obviously a difficulty, the distance between me giving my work to ma'am and me getting feedback on my work, and how detailed was the feedback. We learn a lot more from a conversation that someone gives us where they say, this is how you're going wrong, and this is why you got this mark. This is where you made a mistake. This is what I loved about what you did. Oh man, you had so much insight there. We learned so much. So feedback is key for our learning. And then the law of recency. So that just means, you know, if you're able to practice a skill or a new concept just before you need to perform it, then also that's also how we learn. So that is the idea of studying. So studying is literally to make recent what you already know, so that when it's time for you to deliver, you deliver effectively. And then law of expectations. You know, can a child estimate how well will they do from what they're learning? And that's why, like, a combination of a child receiving feedback and being able to practice before will make them feel more confident that I think I can be successful in this because I've been supported. I feel like I've learned. Then the law of emotions. Then again, emotional state will shape how well and how much they learn. A crying child is not a learning child. An overly excited child who hasn't been calmed down to be like, okay, let's now focus, is not learning. So that's where the law of emotions comes in, and then law of difference. Understanding that we all learn differently. And by exploring the different ways that one can learn the same thing, you are increasing the chances of a child actually learning something from you. So then what these laws should show all of us is that a child needs more than a teacher to learn. That is so like, it feels now obvious because last year happened and we realized our children have to now be taught by a parent, by a TV, by an app, and we realized that, oh, if we would follow those laws, there's so many things that a teacher cannot control that maybe you as a parent can control. So taking the duty of teaching away from just the teacher is important. So I call this the curse of traditions, that, you know, teaching has become quite a stagnant thing where the emphasis is in the classroom, this is where we learn. And we sometimes indirectly push that idea to our children, isn't it? That we put all the learning to the teacher, to the classroom, to that space. And then that's what our children reflect to us. That's why for our children, when now their phone had to become a learning device, it was a very difficult concept. Like, why? Because all along, the learning happens in that building with my teacher. The only thing I do of learning at home is the homework of the work from school. And what that also causes is that even schools advertise themselves as a space where we take the responsibility of learning away from you as a parent, away from you as a family, and say, we'll do everything. We'll teach him manners, we'll teach him respect, we'll give him knowledge, we'll prepare them for life. And then we're like, okay, is that really how learning should be? And then 2020 came and said, okay, all of that now must happen at home. Now, all of a sudden, you experience your child and how they learn. And then perhaps you realize, oh, okay, oh, my child actually doesn't like learning. It's not that they don't like school. It's the idea of learning is not what they want. And then we are not implementing these laws of learning correctly in a very effective way, in a way that tries to take all those laws and says, let's make them all possible. So 2020 did that. So here are things I think we can try. So I've grouped some questions that you should be asking yourself within your home, within your relationship with your child. First of all, at an emotional level, where is your child? How are they emotionally? Can you answer that for yourself? How aware are you? And what are you doing about it? Because you now have realized that their emotions play such a big role for their learning. So when they leave the house, what state are they in? When they are getting ready for a test, what state are they in? When they're busy doing homework, what state are they in emotionally? Being able to answer that and intervening if you realize that it's an emotion that cannot support learning will then mean you are supporting their learning. That's already a good first step in asking yourself stuff. Then interests. What are your child's interests? And if the interests of your child are linked to a school subject, then you don't know their interests. Because it mustn't be that, no, my child's interested in mathematics. There's no such thing. My child is really interested in science. I don't really think so. They're probably interested in a topic within science or an experience within science. But what are their interests? And how can I help my child find out more about their interests? If, for instance, you have a grade 9 child, I've been teaching them personal development, and I challenged them. I said to them, what are your talents, young man and young lady? And what are you doing about it? How are you growing it? How are you making it better for everyone? So for yourself, how would you answer this for each of the children you are raising, each of the children in your life, each of the children who you are playing an active role to help them grow up? What are their interests? And how are you helping them find out more about it so that the interest develops potentially into a skill, develops potentially into a career, or a source of income other than it being their full-blown career? Because then that's how you're supporting their learning. Then the next one is reflect on their learning. So when they come home, instead of saying, what did you do at school? I think it's a better question to say, what did you learn at school? And the answer they will give you is the topics that they were taught. Then you must help them dig deeper. Okay, what did you learn about yourself today? Because what you want to do is let a child realize that we're learning all the time, friend. We are learning all the time. There are lessons in everything. Everyone has something to offer that will help us become better people. Everyone has something to offer that will help us grow. But if we aren't able to reflect to say, actually, I am learning, then they will always think learning happens in a class, and then they will compartmentalize it and then not gain from the experiences that are around them. If your child had a disagreement with their sibling, or even with you, the two of you had a deep conversation, it would be great at the end to say, what did you learn from what we just spoke about? Using the word learn can become so refreshing to make a child see that there's lessons in everything, and that would be great to do. So reflect learning in the kinds of questions you ask about what should we learn from this? What have you learned? And maybe even personalize it for yourself. This is what I'm learning about you. This is what I'm learning, what I learned about today, what I'm discovering about myself. Then again, you are showing your child a different way to view things. Then look at the environment. Does your environment at home support academic learning? So at a very physical level, when you look around, can someone learn in this house? Can someone learn in their room? Can someone learn in this lounge? At a basic level, is there a desk? Is there a chair? Is it comfortable? Can they work from there? Or have I been expecting my child to do homework in the most uncomfortable spaces? Then the next thing to ask yourself about your environment is, does it support pursuing new interests? When you look at your environment, does it support your child to become a curious person? Or does it lack anything that would make a child think they can learn, or they should learn, or they should explore? So that is about the resources you've put in their space. Because last year when they were home the whole day, and then let's say we didn't offer a lesson or whatever, how did they occupy themselves? And did what they occupied themselves with support learning? Would you be proud of that? Or did you feel like, man, hey, when will these schools open? Because hey, Mtanamendi cannot be here. So does that mean your environment isn't supporting learning, and the kind of learning where they could even develop new interests and pursue them? So that's then how you ask yourself about the environment. And then the priorities, and this is linked a little bit to the idea of data. So what are your actions as a parent? What are your actions as a family prioritizing? If someone would judge the choices you are making about your house, what would it be showing as the priorities of this house? Are there resources in your house that encourage learning? Are there books? If you're struggling with internet, is there an up-to-date encyclopedia for your child to look for information? Is there even a dictionary in that house? Are there things that would encourage your child to learn unprovoked? Or is it always the case that unless it's schoolwork, there's nothing here that would inspire me to learn? What have you changed to show that you are aware that learning is not the school's responsibility alone? Because that reflects to your child. If for your child in the house, the technology that exists is so that they can be distracted, so they can leave you alone, so that they can keep themselves busy, then that's a problem. That's why they will struggle to see that, oh, the same device may hold secrets that will help me become better at my interests. Same device, you know, the same TV that perhaps helps them keep up with the trends of their favorite artists is the same TV, depending on how we set our priorities. It's the same TV that can be playing a video that shows me how to get better at drawing because I'm interested in that. So what are your priorities? Then modeling. You, the parent, the adult, the chief person of this household. When last have your actions shown that you are a lifelong learner? Because these are phrases we throw at our children all the time. Hey guys, learning is forever. You don't stop learning. Okay. If your child would be honest and look at you and answer this question, when last would they say, yeah, this action that you did is when I think, yeah, you were still showing me that you're learning? Do you model a desire to learn? Are you growing in your skills? And are your children seeing it? So it's not even about have you signed up for a course. It's not even only about that. It's things like how often are you trying new recipes? How often are you Googling stuff to be like, I'm trying to do this, and show your child that, man, we learn all the time. We don't reach a status of like we've learned it all, we are okay now. You know, when you have now bought a new phone and you're just always handing it over to your child and be like, just show me how to do this, download WhatsApp for me. Or are you showing curiosity and, you know, and an investment in saying, this is a foreign thing to me and I want to learn it, you know? So those are just some of the things that we can think about. And then at a very practical level, in terms of what then can we add, I've put some pictures there, which I'm going to explain. And this is a little trick I did because, you know, if people didn't come to our session this morning, then we post the slides, they must still be confused and be like, hey, maybe I must attend. Whether I see pictures, but doesn't sense. But for all of us, the first thing at a very practical level is to make technology your child's friend. Make them see that technology is your friend. It's here to stay. It's not something that is overly complicated, that is beyond your brain. You know, in this house we learn, and this device is one of the tools that will help us learn. So that's the first thing. Technology is our friend. Secondly, devices are our friends. So maybe if the way you've been motivating your child has been, you know, through rewards like I'll take you out, or buy your phone, whatever, perhaps sit down and think what would be the devices that encourage learning, and not just only learning of school content, but if they have an interest, here's a tool, here's a device. If your child is interested in art, to say, okay, here's a stand for you to put your canvases when you want to do art. Here's a painting stand. Here's a book on becoming a better writer. You know, devices, tools, that's technology. So devices are your friends in this house. We will be more considerate in what we purchase. So we won't always just chase the cheapest thing to just give my child. Maybe we'll go through reviews and be like, what is the best possible one for my budget? Because there's nothing worse than buying a child a device that is basically useless. Then it breaks, and then they have an incorrect relationship with technology because you didn't support it. Then improve your data. That's the next practical thing. You know, explore how much would it actually cost you for something that is close to, what's the word? Why is it leaving me? You know, data packages that are either very big or uncapped. I think one of the things we were all learning last year is if we keep buying 2 gig bundles, they don't last. And then in the end, you probably did spend 800 Rand when perhaps just committing to say here's a contract, here's a fiber thing or whatever, and it costs me 600 Rand, but everyone is okay. Let's not cut corners. That's where our priorities will have to move. Then look at apps differently. So an app like YouTube is not only for voyeurism into famous people's lives, highlights of the sports, playing music videos, but literally YouTube is Google through videos. You literally just type in the how do I fix a car? And there you go, your child is about to embark on a personalized course from YouTube on how to fix a car, and they've learned the skill. That thing is beautiful. The internet is full of free courses, especially when your child has an interest. There are a lot of beginner courses that these places try and lure you in to then sign up for more advanced versions of that course. So if you've seen your child likes taking pictures and you've managed to hustle like an old camera, look for a free course online. Let your child do that in addition to being a student. Because then what are you showing your child? That we learn through different ways. You're acknowledging that school cannot teach my child everything they need to know. School cannot equip my child with every skill I want them to have. But the internet can close the gap. Me as the parent, I can close the gap. Our friends and family can close the gap. And then that's how you engage your child. Then look at emphasizing time management. One of the things we do wrong to children is we take away distractions so that they can focus on their work. You have not taught them time management. You've actually robbed them of the cost of time, because then they have an incorrect perspective of how long do things take me, because you took away everything. Instead, time management says, if you want to do everything that you're passionate about, make time for it. And I, as your parent, I'm going to tell you what should be your priority. I just want good marks. And if you're not delivering them, I'll take things away. But when we take everything away to guarantee the good marks, you have not taught them time management. You've robbed them of the skill. And then the last thing that is very practical is, as a family, set goals that you want to achieve. And let those goals include things like learning a skill at an individual level, seeking experiences as a family, showing that we are very open to learning, and that learning is not only for the student in this house. Because what sometimes you hear your kids say stuff like, yo, I could never learn forever. Yo, sir, like when Usafunda still at your age, no, sir, I'm this school. And that's a wrong relationship with the idea of learning. We learn all the time. So one of the ways you can inculcate that culture in your child is that we as a family are agreeing on what are the things we want to work on, what are the things we want to improve on. And then we keep each other accountable. So those are the things. So I'm curious to hear what are some of your feelings about this. I know I've now spoken forever, but that was the main point of today, of how do we support learning. So you can put things in the comments, or you can raise your hands, because the bulk of what I needed to say is done. And I see there are some comments that I will read now. So you may raise your hands if you maybe have a question or a thought or an experience to share. So Sevenzi Lingubeni says, yes, I feel I supported my child's 2020 learning, especially with Wi-Fi and data. When Wi-Fi acted up, I would even go to extra length to print or buy her appropriate study guides to make it easier to understand more. Awesome. And Tandi Savela says, I'd like to know if the school has Wi-Fi available for kids to log on and do their online assignments, etc. at school. I'll answer that now. Then 17 again says, I think my home environment was good during 2020 lockdown, because even us as parents were working from home. So during online learning, it would be nice and quiet, everyone doing their work either at school or at work. Awesome. Then Rosalina Musala says, yes, Mr. Masek, I tried my best to support my kids with online learning. I was fortunate to be able to print different modules from my work during my lunch. Learning in 2020 makes me as a parent to be actively involved and take charge and interact more. Awesome. So to just answer Tandi's question, So our Wi-Fi struggles at school. Yeah, no, it's a challenge. So what I am fully aware of right now is the the replacement of our existing routers to try and make Wi-Fi more reliable at the first level for just us as the staff, but for it to be plausible for learners to use it. So currently a learner can go into the computer room and work. The issue is often that the load of the internet requirements at the school are making our router not actually function. So we are working on it. I don't have timelines, but I know that this week a request was made for the replacement of the router. So I think things should move at a much more rapid pace. Yeah. Then Mercia says, laws of learning, very valuable insights for us. Thank you. And then Angelina, thank you for the laws of learning. I'm grateful for that. And then Don Michele, it reveals some blind spots in how we are doing things. I assume the presentation will be shared. Yes, no, it will be shared, and this recording will be shared. So yes, sometime this afternoon. So that's my hope. So what am I thinking for 2021 to support our learning as the parents, as the family of our children? So online learning has meant that we won't really be face-to-face for a while. And that means perhaps it's also possible for us to see each other more often depending on the topic. So what I have done, and I will be sharing this on WhatsApp, is I've developed a Google form with like a lot of topics that I think would be good content for all of us as parents to sign up for. And what I want to do is once a month, offer a topic depending on which are the ones that seem to have the biggest draw card for people. And they will feel more like a bit of a webinar. It could be much shorter than this because I think our parent group sessions are more reflective and more conversational with each other. But what I thought with these topics is really more of like information giving, chance to ask some questions. Hopefully I get like some experts to jump in on the conversation, but it's like 30 to 45 minutes of you learning. So it's a short course on a topic which is more introductory, but beneficial. So for instance, I put stuff like the importance of a role model for your child, talking about substance abuse, the sex talk with your child, helping a child become an entrepreneur, building a child's confidence. So those are like really bite-sized topics where we go like once a month and plan it out throughout the year. And what we want to do is link that to our Microsoft Teams accounts of your children. The idea there being that it's easy to put on the calendar on Teams all the topics. Like I'm going to create the group where I put all the children in one group. And then they will see that there's a Teams for parents, and it gives you access to log in at any time with your child's login details. And that will also help you with just checking if your child is not doing funny things, which is maybe also great. But more than that, that there's a calendar, you can plan easily, and then all the recordings will be available there. And then on top of that, last year I did start a podcast with my grade 12s. We called it Orientate Your Life. And what we will use that for this year, because I don't teach grade 12, is when I repurpose it a little bit to go into more detail on the topic we chose. So let's say next month, the topic will be building your child's self-confidence. Obviously in the 45 minutes, it was very introductory, but perhaps there's an opportunity to interview a couple of people who are experts, and we make that a podcast of an hour or 2 hours, and you can listen to it at any time. So that's how we're going to try and do the parent group sessions this year. And then in each term, we will have at least one opportunity like this, where it's more long form, and it's topics that are much more related to what's happening at school and where we can support you better. So like, let's say when it's subject choice time, it could be that, or when it's issues of careers and things like that, it will be there. But I want topics to be more for that. If it's your interest, if it's your personal struggle or with your child, you have that 30-45 minutes to just, set aside, or know that later on you're going to watch that recording because it was a topic you were passionate about. So that's my hope, but I mustn't use the word hope. That's what we're going to do. And plan it out well. So that's how we will work this year. So yes, I'll still open up if people would like to still ask a question or get some clarity. Let me read some of the comments. 70 also thumbs up for laws of learning. Thank you very much for that. Polana and Swingile, the laws of learning are a very valuable tool that I'm sure will take us far as parents to support our kids to learn and have meaningful conversations with them. Thank you. Lola, thank you very much and very informative. Where can one get that book? So I will post the study so that you can have it. Yeah, it was a journal article. So I'll post it also in the groups. So that's that. So what are we looking forward to in the next week? Just to give you guys some updates. We had prefect elections yesterday. Guys, I know the results, but I can't tell you. But I'm willing to take, not a bribe, let's not call it a bribe. That's a terrible, terrible thing. I'm willing to take a vulamlom because I think that's different. Those aren't bribes, guys. That's our culture. So we had very successful prefect elections yesterday. When I sent the link of our meeting together, just check out that YouTube channel. That's the one I created for learning last year. You will see your children, because all children of the school belong to us. So you will see your children giving their speeches of why we should vote for them. I think they did really, really beautiful things. There was great insight, and it was a good opportunity for us to see that our children are capable of a lot if we challenge them. And maybe for those of you who aren't aware of how we did our prefect thing, selection process, people had to apply to become a prefect. There was a whole form. They had to, fill it in and be very convincing. They had to get a teacher to recommend them also and say why they're deserving. And then there was a prefect selection panel, which involved teachers, management, and some learners who then went through applications and then drew up a voter roll. And then those kids who made it to the last stage had to send me a video for 1 minute convincing the school of why they must vote for them, as well as a picture and their slogan. And then I compiled those videos. And yesterday, before it was election time, everyone watched in their individual classrooms, everyone's speeches. And then we used the hall and the computer room for online voting. And yeah, we have the results. So it was very good. So on Wednesday, we should be announcing who made it, who are our prefects for 2021. And then on the 23rd of February, our class of 2020, their results come out. We are both excited and anxious. Yeah, last year was rough, but I'm optimistic that those who worked hard will succeed. And then on the beginning of March, we are having the grade 8 sleepover, first ever on the school property. So that's what we have to look forward to going forward. So thank you everyone for attending. This was great. I'm glad everyone made time. I can even see some of us were busy in the gym. So like, hey, siyabonga for multitasking. I'm very grateful for everyone coming today, and then enjoy your weekend. we will see you soon. I'll post the link and all in our slides for today, as well as the journal article sometime today.